A very good afternoon to you and welcome to yet another exciting edition of your favorite business development program on Radio Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, they say good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Masterclass comes your way every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and runs all the way through to 2:15 p.m. here on your superstation Joy 99.7. My name as always is Yaw Anim-Barnafo and I'm happy to be your host for today's edition of Masterclass. Here at Masterclass today, before we start, I want to take a quick message, birthday shout out to one of the friends of Masterclass, Uncle James Addison, who is also the CEO of the first Emotional Intelligence Center here in the country. Today is your birthday. A very good afternoon to you. Say happy birthday and God bless your new age. And thank you for always supporting Masterclass. Last week here on the show, we ended another interesting conversation. And the topic area was strategic marketing communications. We had that conversation here with Dr. Ike Tando. Dr. Tando, good afternoon to you if you're listening to us, and thank you so much for coming through last week here on Masterclass. He shared some very interesting thoughts with us. Like we always do here on the show, we'll do a quick recap of the conversation we had before, and then we go straight into today's conversation. And I know that he talked about the importance of communicating properly during crisis, and he explained some of those crises to be anything from the little things that happen in your company every day to the big things that can actually shut your business down. Apart from all the things that you do, apart from all the support that NADMO will bring and all of that, how you communicate to your customers is also really key and important during crisis. Four things stayed with me in that conversation. I mean, one of the first things that stayed with me was, he says, a crisis is an event or a situation that threatens the reputation, the financial stability, or the survival of your company. So it could be any of these things, but once it affects your brand, it affects your reputation. People never really know what the inside story is. Sometimes you must tell them, sometimes you must manage the information. The timing of same is also key. So clearly, communicating effectively in that process is important. The second thing he spoke about was that examples of crisis, like I said, they range from the little things to the big things. So he talked about natural disasters. He talked about product recalls. I'm sure you've heard about some product recalls of certain products. We say that this particular batch which went out on the market, we're recalling all of them. When that happens, obviously, it's a problem because you've already gone out to market. Some damage may have already been done. People may have consumed the product already or used it and had problems. You probably have lawsuits on your hand and all of that. It's important to communicate effectively in those times as well. He talked about cyber attacks and then, of course, pandemics. The most recent, which is COVID-19, and how we also how the communication went and how it helped or didn't help the process. One of the other things he spoke about, which is the third thing I took away from that conversation, was that in crisis, it's absolutely important not to panic. And this is actually key for the key personnel, management, people who will speak to the public, who will engage the customers, frontline staff. When something goes wrong, do not panic. Because at that point, everything possible to resolve the situation is already being done. And so if you panic, you're just worrying, and that worry may not add anything tangible to that process. So when things go wrong, whether you're a leader, you're in front line, or you're even part of the company in any way, what we're saying is that in crisis, do not panic. And of course, the last thing that he mentioned, which was an example that he also gave that stayed with me, was that the right person should be selected to speak to the press or to issue the public statement. And the right person here being someone, it's not just the person who's able to speak well and rap and say all the nice things, but the person who can think on their feet, the person who can connect to the people. He gave the example. It may have been maybe not a very great example, but he had to manage a situation once, and it was such a bad situation that we needed someone who would show empathy, complete empathy overboard, if you like, with the people who had been affected. And so when they came and said, you are the comms person, go speak to the public, he says, no, I'm not going to go speak to the public. I have the right person in mind. And so we said, why did you choose that person? He says, because the person can cry immediately. So when of course, it sounds a bit manipulative, but the point he's making is that it's not just the one who knows how to speak, but the one who connects is the one you should send to speak. So always make sure that whoever is speaking in terms of a crisis is the right person. These are the four things that stayed with me. Today we're moving into another area of conversation. In recent weeks, I beg your pardon, we've celebrated women empowerment, women in career. And so today's show will center around that same line of conversation. We're looking at the women-centered approach to coaching, to training, and to leadership. The women-centered approach to coaching, to training, and to leadership. I know that there's been different discussions, different fora in some institutions who held programs to mark the Women's Day, World Women's Day. And so this is a sort of continuation of that conversation, if you like. As always here on Masterclass, we always have renowned Ghanaians who are seasoned in their profession to come and share some thoughts with us. I'm looking at her CV now, and it's such an impressive CV. It's one of those CVs that when I grow up, I want to be like her. But of course, I can't be like her, so I'm going to try and do my best. Our resource person for this afternoon is a seasoned transformational leadership coach and trainer, also a facilitator, a career coach, a speaker with a combination of over 30 years of professional experience. She supported CEOs and managers and leaders in both private and public sector to ignite their potential, self-actualize and maximize their performance in varied areas of their lives. She's done some great work with APSA, with MTN, with companies like Barry Callebaut, with Cargill Ghana. The CV goes on and on. But the part that I'm really interested in, she has a bachelor's degree in educational psychology, guidance and counseling from the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria. She also has a postgraduate degree in business administration from the University of Leicester in the United Kingdom. She's a certified human resource practitioner and a trainer from the American Certification Institute in the United States of America. She's a certified international Gestalt and systems development practitioner from the Gestalt Center for Organization and Center and Systems Development in Cleveland in the USA. She's also a John Maxwell practitioner, a certified feminine power transformational coach. Shout out to all my women this afternoon. Happy Women's Day all over again. She's a member of the Gestalt Africa Community of Practice, the Association of Coaching Practitioners in Ghana, and the Association of Human Resource Management Practitioners in Ghana. She's a career consultant for TDI Global Canada on the MY3D project. She's also the CEO of Self-Search Ghana Limited, a human development solutions firm that provides excellence in coaching, corporate training, and career services. If I can read the CV for the next 30 minutes, and that will be the whole show today. But let me stop there because we definitely want to hear from her today. Our resource person for this afternoon's conversation on women-centered approach to coaching, training, and leadership is Joyce Sika Twum. Auntie Joyce.
Yes.
My dearest Auntie Joyce.
Hello, yeah.
You're welcome to Masterclass.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're super excited to have you on the show. And for those who are listening to us this afternoon, Auntie Joyce is going to be with us, not just today, but we're going to continue in some other line of conversation. And hopefully she'll be back with us here again, continuing here in the studio on Masterclass. But I'm super excited to have you here today. And we're celebrating Women's Day all over again. We're talking about coaching, leadership, and training. Empowering women in our career and all of that. I know that a lot of work has been done over the years. The narrative is sort of beginning to change a bit, but I think that when I hear the conversations, it says that there's still a lot more to be done, isn't it? There's still a lot more to be done. And sometimes the conversation does not bring into perspective all the dynamics that affect what we see to be a challenge where women are concerned in their careers and all of that. It doesn't truly appreciate what the challenges are because, again, things are changing. I mean, the dynamism is ever evolving and it doesn't stay in one place. So perhaps in today's conversation, we're going to see how we can effectively manage that entire conversation to the benefit of the entirety of society. Children, fathers, husbands, mothers, young women who are finishing school, people in career. And I think one of the key things I heard in the conversation last week when, we're celebrating all of this was that you find that at a certain entry level, a lot of women, because we talk about the girl child education, the women, the sort of pyramid approach, because there's a lot of people at a certain level, and then as it gets higher and higher and higher, you find that it tapers down and the numbers begin to go down. Perhaps we're going to, here on the show, try and understand what some of those dynamics are. I know you've got a lot of slides. For those of us who want to make some notes, she's obliged us a couple of slides. We're streaming live on Facebook. By all means, do join our Facebook page. And then I'll take some notes. We'll be showing some of the slides as well. But Auntie Joyce, let's start the conversation. I couldn't help going online to find out who had said what about women in training and in life and in whatever. And I found something from Mina Antrim. Mina Antrim is a self-styled coach. And she says, a beautiful woman delights the eye. A wise woman delights the understanding. A pure woman delights the soul. That's
powerful.
Mina Antrim looking at this whole thing from different perspectives. And then this one is from John Wooden. He's also a business consultant. He says that a coach, and this one is not even synonymous to women, a man or a woman coach, is someone who can give correction without causing resentment. And I find this particularly interesting because in our narrative, and I always say that people are a function of their orientation. So who you are is a direct function of where you've been, leading up to the point where we're having this conversation. So you find that a lot of people today in Ghana cannot say no without being angry, without being abrasive about it. They've got to be upset to be able to say no. But I've encountered people who can say no to you and you think they just said yes. They just refused you something. So bringing that into the foray of training and coaching, when you're dealing with people who have less skill or knowledge in a particular area than yourself, your ability to correct them without causing resentment becomes golden, doesn't it?
It does.
And I'm hoping that in this conversation we'll see a bit more strength where women are concerned in that process. Because there are all sorts of myths, aren't there? I'm not going to start the show with a myth, but there are all sorts of myths about women in power and women in authority. And
women empowerment.
But I'm going to leave that to you. Talk to us, Auntie Joyce. Women in coaching, leadership, and training.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, I'd like to start by giving you an overview of some of the topics we'll be talking about for you to understand women-centered approach to coaching, training, and leadership. We are going to be looking at how women have risen, and I prefer to call that women rising, how they have risen over the years. Then we are also going to look at the decline in women's happiness and fulfillment in spite of their rise. And then we are going to be looking at the difference in our wiring, the difference between men, the way they are wired, and women, the way they are wired, in order for us to understand the problem without a name, the problem women have now, which has no name.
What is wrong with you? I don't know.
I don't know. So then we'll look at the problem without name. Then we will look at the traditional coaching and how people, understand coaching and how the traditional coaching does not meet the needs, the challenges and the possibilities of women. Okay, and then we would look at transformational coaching and how that merges into the women-centered approach to coaching. And then we end, okay?
Right. Hopefully we'll get all that through.
I'm going to run through it.
I'm going to try and not talk too much today.
I'm going to run through it. Okay, so I'm starting with the phenomenal progress women have made in the past 50 years. And I'm just running through it before I break it down. Firstly, women have been able to level, in a way, the playing field, okay, between men and women. I always say that the corporate environment is created by men and for men, okay?
It's a man's world.
But women have been able to, over the 50 years, in a way, level the playing field. They've embraced male system of power, okay, the male system of power. And I'll go into detail. This is just running through a few points. They have surged out of home into masculine domains. So you have women going to areas that used to be predominantly male, and then they have become primary breadwinners. These days when you look at many homes, the women are the ones making money to cater for their homes. And then, of course, you find a number of women graduating out of college. I'm going to break this down. Now, so I'm breaking it down into the workforce, how women have progressed in the workforce, how women have progressed in education and the various areas. So when you take the workforce, you'll find that there are more women now in management and professional occupations than 50 years ago. Okay, there are more women occupying positions of power. Then you also find that there are more women working outside the home. Before, it wasn't like that. Women were at home taking care of kids, but now many women are working out of home. Then you find that there are a lot of women who are in the playing the traditional roles, dominating traditional roles. If you take teaching, you find a lot of women. If you take the health service, you find a lot of women. Okay, so basically we are saying in the workforce, they have made a presence.
Even in the judiciary lately.
Yes, all those areas. Then when you take education, you find that in fact more women than men are going in, are becoming college graduates these days. More women than before. You also find women pursuing master's and doctorate programs more now than before. Okay, so what I'm trying to build here is how women have progressed, so that you need to understand the progression and in order to understand the need. Why is there a need for women-centered coaching, and what really is it? Okay, so you see in education too, there's been progress. Then when you look at the economy, you will see that women control over 73% of household spending. Women control that. And in fact, women are now in positions where they control billions of dollars, if you like, okay, by virtue of the positions they hold worldwide. And so you see that. You also see there's a change in economic system in favor of women. Now, if you look at occupations like mining, agric, manufacturing, they don't necessarily require size, strength like before. At first, these professions required size, strength, and competitiveness because men were occupying it. Now you find women in the mines. You find women in agric, you find women in manufacturing. And in fact, these professions now require skills that women tend to have. Communication, customer service, caring and nurturing, ability to multitask, which are skills women tend to have. I'm not a feminist too, and I'll come to that. Okay, which are skills women tend to have. So that's with the economy. Now, if you look at impact on bottom line, the impact of women rising in education, women rising in the economy, women rising, the impact is having on the bottom line. One is you find that in professions or in companies, organizations where women hold top positions, they do say that they do better. I'm sure you've heard, profitability tends to be high. You'll find that. So that's the one impact on the bottom line. They also demonstrate leadership that is positively effective. Positively affect the organization in the sense that they are participative, they tend to be participative in decision making, they role model, they mentor. So you find that they demonstrate leadership that positively impacts the organization. The other thing is you find a number of female entrepreneurs now. And in fact, in a lot of economies, entrepreneurship is holding the economies. And a number of them are women. Okay, so you see the impact. So you see how they've grown and the impact it's having on the economy. So one would say that they're doing well. They're doing really well. However, my next topic...
Yes. Let me just say this to support what you're saying. There's a research, and I know people are going to ask me to quote my source. I will quote my source subsequently. But there is a research that seeks to suggest that in terms of loan repayment within the retail space for business, that financial institutions prefer to lend to women than to men. And the simple reason is that, and guys, I'm a guy, so this is not against anybody, but the simple reason is that women pay back their loans a lot more than men do.
Because men...
So that's one plus for my women this afternoon.
Men by virtue of their wiring, and we'll get there.
So I'm just tying that to the fact that they will do well in business because they have more access, because they pay back more, and therefore they'll be able to generate a lot more business and then become self-independent in the process.
That's so true. But there's the next topic looks at the decline in women's happiness and fulfillment. One would expect that having risen in education and all that I've talked about, the impact they are making in the economies, they should be fulfilled and happy. However, there's a decline in women's happiness and fulfillment. And the reasons are many. One is the disparity in upper management representation. Okay, women find that when you in many organizations, it takes time for them to rise. They have to prove themselves in one way or the other, which is not a comfortable place to be. Then there are invisible barriers that are faced in shifting from middle management to senior management. They are invisible barriers. And I say they are invisible because sometimes people say there's a kind of politicking that women are not averse with, and therefore it affects their rising, and that is also affecting their happiness and their fulfillment. The other thing is the inner barriers that women themselves have. Okay, women tend to have barriers. I always say that our barriers are in the area of our identity. And I'll give you an example. Now, you find that when a man and a woman is vying for a job, okay, when they're applying, when the man feels he's 60%, he has 60% of what is required, he will give it a shot. The woman would want to have 90 to 98% because she doesn't feel it's good enough. Okay, she doesn't feel she's good enough. So there's always this inner barrier of shame, of lack, feeling that they don't have enough. I need to get a little bit more. I need to be a little bit more that before I can. And that, in a way, also affects their happiness. Okay, so that's another inner barrier. Then the other one is unfair payments for equal work and lack of opportunity for promotion. Okay, it creates frustration, high rates of depression and anxiety for women. She's been in the organization she does well, and yet when it comes to promotion, sometimes the men are, the ones who are considered, and that creates, it affects their happiness and fulfillment.
I can see in my mind's eye some of our listeners who are male HR practitioners. They're waiting for us to get interactive.
And then there is also adopting a masculine system of power to level the playing field. Now, what is happening, and again, that's the reason why I'm saying there's a decline in women's happiness. Women have had to more or less become like men, to put it simply, okay, in order for, they feel they have to become like men, they have to have the mannerisms of men, the attitudes of men in order to be accepted within the corporate field. And that will come to that in itself is an issue. So they are adopting masculine system of power. They are becoming more logical, more analytic, more strategic. And women, we have our own way of wiring and way of, still rising. And so that is also an area of unhappiness and fulfillment. Then there's increasing shifts in entrepreneurship. Now, that's, in a way, you find that the reason why a number of women too are going into entrepreneurship is because they want the freedom to determine their time, to be able to leverage on other areas of their life, which they are not able to get sometimes within, the corporate world, which I said is created by men and for men. Okay? And then there's the feeling that they cannot have it all. That's also, you cannot have a fulfilling relationship and be in a high level career and also have a fulfilling personal life. That is, that feeling, and I say it's a societal, it's not true though, but that's also creating some form of unhappiness and not being fulfilled. Then as a result, they are choosing to be self-limiting. Okay, so they are choosing to say that, okay, well, if I can, then let me just stay where I am, and after all, a woman is not supposed to, let the man do it, So they are beginning to becoming, they are becoming self-limiting. Then you find that the rise in education, all the rises, which has resulted in women, not being at home and having to work, all of that is impacting on the family structure, which is creating some unhappiness for them and a feeling of non-fulfillment. It's impacting on the family structure. It's impacting on the expectation of men and women in their relationship. So you find situations where a woman, by virtue of her work, has to leave home early and come late, okay? So she feels if she could have time for the kids, but well, because of the job, okay? So that feeling creates unhappiness in itself. Then you find situations where, by virtue of the rising in education, you have them saying, okay, I want to get my doctorate before I settle down. Okay, so she gets ready to settle down. She's hit a certain age. And the men in that age bracket are not ready to settle down. So the unhappiness comes when you find them now settling. So you find a PhD holder woman settling for a man with a diploma, okay, and saying, well, it's fine. I'll look at other things. And so all of
will,
that.
by God, be the man in that relationship or hell will make you diploma or not?
Yes. You see, so again, these are creating some feeling of, so let me settle because I cannot really have what I think I want. Okay, so those are all issues that border on the fact that there's a decline in women's happiness and fulfillment. Okay, now I'm going to let us look at how we are wired. You see, remember, I'm looking at women-centered coaching, training and leadership. And I want to establish the reason why there's that need for women-centered, and there is actually women-centered coaching. And for you to understand it, I want you to see how women have grown and how the growth in itself have brought some kind of unhappiness and fulfillment, and how we are wired. Okay, so we are moving into the difference in our wiring. Men are wired differently. I said something that what a man can do, a woman can do. I'm not an advocate of that. I believe that men have differences. They are unique differences. Women have their unique differences. We complement each other beautifully. We should own who we are, and they own who they are, and then we work beautifully together. There are things men can do, a woman cannot do. That's as simple as that. There are things women can do, a man cannot do. So for me, that's my thinking.
So should we then begin to look at the statement that says everyone should seek to become the best version of themselves?
Yes.
Don't try to to be like me.
Yes, you
Let
are
me not try
forever
to be
you,
like
and I, like J.J. Rousseau will say. You know, you be uniquely you and own it. So we are coming to that. We are coming to the problem without a name. Okay, so we are looking at the difference in our wiring. And I'm going to read a statement which would help us understand the difference in our wiring. It says, it's by Brizenden, 2007. He said, 99% of male and female genetic coding is exactly the same. But the 1% difference influences every single cell in our body, from the nerves that register pleasure and pain to the neurons that transmit perception, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I'll take that again. It says 99% of male and female genetic coding is exactly the same. But the 1% difference influences every single cell in our body, from the nerves that register pleasure and pain to the neurons that transmit perception, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Okay, so I'm going to run through the difference in our wiring. And if you understand the difference in our wiring, you'll understand why there is a need for women-centered approach to coaching, because we are wired differently. I'll then go into transformational coaching, traditional coaching, for you to understand why that does not fully satisfy the need. So we are looking at the areas of difference. Let us look at our intellectual function. Now, when you look at intellectual function, you find that men tend to be analytic. They tend to be linear and logical. I'll explain it. And they tend to be perceptive and strategic. Okay, women, and I'll run through it and explain it. Women tend to be whole brain perspective, bigger picture people. Okay, so you take the man who is analytical, who is linear, who is logical, who is perceptive, and who is strategic. And you find instances where a man would want to see the facts. Okay, so if this happened, then this is what should follow. That logically, this is what should happen. So he's thinking in that light. But a woman is looking at the thing holistically and saying that beyond that, there may be an underlying reason why certain things happen. Take the workplace, for instance. So you find a situation where somebody stole. Okay? For the man, this is the rule. These are the terms. You are not supposed to do this. You've done it. The person must be punished. The woman would look beyond that and say, maybe he stole not just because there's something happening at home.
He's hungry.
Maybe because he's hungry. Maybe because, okay. So we are more whole picture, bigger picture people. Okay. So we easily make connection with both sides of our brain. And we are more comfortable with awareness of non-verbal cues. So a woman will look at the body language, the facial expression, and say, is there something wrong? Are you hungry? The man, not so much. Okay, unless what I'm telling you now is not, a lot of other things. In psychology, we say a lot of other things impact on the difference. So it could be your upbringing. It could make a man have some similarity with a woman. So it's not a generic, but generally, what you find that with regards, that's the intellectual function. When you look at base reaction stimuli, okay, men tend to be action, women tend to be feeling. Okay, men jump into action while women are more likely to react emotionally. So I look at a situation where a thief comes to the house. Okay, the man will jump up. The woman will start crying or find a place to hide. Okay, so women tend to be more feeling, men tend to be more action when it comes to their base reaction stimuli.
And when the thief is caught and they are beating him, say,
so it's because the woman is more feeling. Okay, that's why a man would say something like, so basically women are likely to react emotionally, while men are more action-oriented. Okay, so when you look at stress response, men's stress response tend to be fight or flight. Women tend to be, befriend. And I'll explain. So when something happens, the tendency is for the man to fight or run away. So I know instances where, someone has said that there were issues, a lot of issues in their house. They were, the woman had created issues where they had loans. People were coming to their house to ask. The man was not comfortable. So he left. He just left and ended up marrying somebody else, but he left. So basically for him, the reaction is to fight or flight, okay, under stress. Mm-hmm. For the woman looks at befriending, relating when there's stress. Okay, so let me explain this. It says men produce hormones like testosterone and adrenaline, while women produce more of oxytocin, which buffers the fight or flight. So that's why a woman would say, when they see a man fight, to say, no, you people calm down. And I always say, because of this, it's you can't have all men running a nation. There has to be women, because men, they calm down. Yes, they calm down situations. They have, by virtue of their wiring. Okay, then you have their innate interest. The innate interest of men tend to be things. Okay, so a man, car, house, things. Okay, with women it's more people. Okay, so you tend to have women saying things like, the man would say, but I've bought a house for you. You have your car. You're okay. The woman would say, but I want you to be there. Okay, that's not enough.
It's like, I'm going to sit there and do what?
Yes.
Hold that thought for me. I want our listeners to be a part of this conversation. If you just tuned, this is Masterclass here on your superstation Joy 99.7. We take a quick message from our sponsors. When we come back, we get interactive.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass. We're here in the studio with Joyce Sika Twum, founder and CEO of Self-Search Ghana Limited, and we're talking about the women-centered approach to coaching, training, and leadership. Phone lines are now open. Numbers to call 0302-216-541. That's 0302-216-541. You can also pick up your phone and send us a comment on 055-1111-997. Numbers to call again, 0302-216-541. If you have any motor vehicle of any kind, Goyle has some great news for you. Your oil marketing company of choice, Goyle, keeps making life ever so convenient. Goyle now accepts Momo for all fuel purchases. Just remember to Momo it at Goyle. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara. Yedia. Phone lines are open, 0302-216-541. Otherwise, you can send us your comments on 055-1111-997. I'll wait for the phone lines to ring. Let's keep sharing the content.
So we were looking at the wiring. How different are men from women when it comes to our wiring? Okay, and we looked at the innate interest. We said more of things for men, more of people. For women are more interested in building relationships, empathy, connection. That's why more connections. And then there's a survival strategy. The area of difference when it comes to survival, men are it's more self-interest, hierarchy, power, and competition. Okay, so the focus for them is more of power, more of competition, more of self-interest. What am I getting in this? Whilst for women, it's more of people building. Okay, so they survive through people building, through relationships, through empathy, through connecting with people more. So when a woman is not in a good place, she wants a friend to speak to. I mean, okay. Mm-hmm. Then we have the mental preference. That is, how do they understand and process information? Men, they are more hardwired to systems. Okay, to systematize, while women are hardwired to empathize, to make sense of things by putting themselves in another's shoes. Someone will say, I'm a woman, but I'm not like that. And I'm saying there are other factors that contribute to you not being like that. It could be the way you were brought up, what you experienced, what you have gone through in life. All of that can contribute to bring, the shift. So that is, I'm just giving a generic view. Now, having looked at how women have risen, having looked at the decline in our happiness and fulfillment, having looked at the way we are wired, we want to look at the problem without a name. Okay. And women are now, you see, so you will say, but you've risen now, you are doing this, what you want, you are getting. And now there are issues, and so there is a problem without a name. Okay, so women are now feeling a yearning that is at the heart of the new problem without a name. And that is, they don't just want to succeed where men have succeeded. Okay, so a woman doesn't just want to succeed. That's not enough. Okay, they don't just want to accomplish goals for accomplishment's sake. They don't just want that. And at the same time, they don't want to just go back to the traditional female roles where they stay at home and take care of the kids. They don't want that. And nor do they want to simply combine all these in some elusive, and I call it this elusive work-life balance, because that's not what they really want. So they feel frustrated as they are not getting leverage in other areas. Okay, so they feel frustrated that they cannot have time with their kids. They cannot have time for themselves. They cannot have time to just do what they want to do and not what. So all those things. So the problem without a name is the fact that they are not saying, I'm accomplished, I have gotten all these awards. It's fine. That is not enough. Either they feel the relationship is not going well. Okay, or my health, or the kids. I don't have time. So there is a problem, okay, without a name.
I'm trying far not to say anything. Because I ask myself, but you life is about choices, isn't it?
Yes.
So you can't eat your cake and have it.
Yes. But
you know, so I mean, well, I mean, it's not the same. I was going to say that everyone makes a decision and they know it's either one or the other. But if you get to the end of a choice you've made and you wish that you had the other also, then you want to eat your cake and have it.
It's interesting you say that, because you know that the big question of what they want has been nicely stated by Joseph Campbell. And he says they seem to have gotten, or they seem to have gotten near the top of the ladder and found that it is against the wrong wall.
I'm going to comment on social media. Let's take that one quickly. You didn't add your name. He says, good afternoon, Yaw. I want to ask your resource person that, how about the saying nowadays that if be attention, we go chop? Aren't they also part of the women she's referring to? Okay, so I suppose that there's a comment lately that's going around that a bit of money, a bit of attention, a bit of everything. And so if you're a man and you're not able to provide, you're not going out there to make money. At the end of the day, you can give all the attention you want in the world, but then I could do this here. Kind of thing. So
yes.
The point the person is making is,
so what do
there
they
are women
want?
who also make that kind of comment that yes, you can give me all the attention in the world, but is it only attention that is required?
Is that what I'm going to chop? Okay, I want the money.
And I want to hear my women. This conversation is interesting. Please pick up the phone and give us a call, 030221651. Do I have a caller on the line? Okay. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Your name, where you're calling from, sir?
Yeah, my name is Kwesi. I'm calling from Accra.
Okay, Kwesi, talk to me.
Yeah, I want to find out who this woman is. A woman who blames you that you have committed a crime. Let's say you are in a relationship, committed a crime. Meanwhile, she's also doing another thing somewhere. But the woman kept on peddling the falsehood about you alone, going around everywhere. And then all of a sudden, hers was exposed. Now the woman decided that I'm going to file something at the court for us to end that relationship. I want to find out what that sort of woman is. Who is that woman?
Okay, I mean, Auntie Joyce will answer that question, but my first response is that woman is a human being. Yeah. Okay, but Auntie Joyce, very quickly, I think we want to take a few more calls, so very quickly if you want to react to that.
Well, you know, when you say who is that woman, I always say a lot of factors contribute to a person's behavior. Okay, so I don't know what... A lot of factors. It could be the way the person has been brought up. It could be the kind of relationship you've had with that woman, and for the reason why she's acting the way she's acting. It could be her own feeling of insecurity and a cover-up of her own. So a lot of factors.
It could be dysfunction from her upbringing.
From her upbringing. Okay, so a lot of factors contribute. So it will be difficult to say the woman is this, okay, without the underlying factors. So that's my response, and I'm going into what we were saying. I don't know whether you'd want to add something before I move on.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so basically we are saying that the big question is because I'm sure you're asking yourself, then what do they want? You said you wanted to be free. You said you wanted to be equally educated like men. You wanted to be in positions of authority, and you've got all of that. And now that there's a problem. That's why I said that there's a decline in our happiness and fulfillment.
And being in authority means you're gone most of the time. If you want to become the head of some financial institution, you're gone most of the time. You're in those long meetings. By the time you can, your kids are not waiting for you.
So those are the issues. Now we've seen how our wiring is different. Okay, we are coming into woman-centered, and I'm honing in on the fact that I don't want us to lose focus of the fact that the topic is women-centered training, coaching, and leadership. So why women-centered? Okay. And I said Joseph Campbell rightly put it to the big question. And when he said, they seem, or we, let me say we because I'm a woman, we seem to have gotten near the top of the ladder and found that it is against the wrong wall. So it was that the reason why I was climbing this ladder. Okay.
So it comes to the question, what do women want?
We'll get there. So, according to Claire Zammit of Evolving Wisdom, she said, we have reached a cultural tipping point where the new North Star for millions of women is the impulse towards self-actualization, towards self-realization, towards social transformation. So what women want now is a woman wants to know who she is. She wants to now know, why am I here? So she realizes that the competition is not really the thing.
And it's going to be controversial and say, if you don't know who you are, how do you expect me to know? But that's just, I don't want you to answer that.
They're not asking you to. But basically what we are saying is, the reason why there is a need for a women-centered approach to coaching is that women have gotten to the point where the issue is not accomplishment only. The issue is not the status and all of that. The issue is that is important, they have it, but they also want to get to you find a woman who would say that I just don't feel fulfilled. I feel there's more in me. There's more I could do. Okay, yet I don't know how to get that out.
And it takes another woman to understand that.
Yes.
Which is the point you're making.
Yes. I don't know how to get that out. And it takes a certain kind of coaching to help that woman bring that out, okay? So I'll get to the traditional coaching and the transformational coaching. So the woman's self-actualization, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is getting to the point where you are the best version of yourself. And my actualization is different from your actualization, okay? So women have gotten to the point where their deepest yearning is to know why they are here.
Let me take a quick comment from social media. Then we'll have 3 minutes to do the 2 points you mentioned. If we don't finish it, hopefully next week when we come back, we can start with that. But this is from Yaw Ado on social media. Yaw says, thank you for the insight. My wife has been staying in the house for over 10 years. We've managed to get her a job and she's reluctant, preparing for the interview. In fact, she told me point blank that I should just let her stay at home, citing many unrealistic reasons. What should I do?
Yeah.
This is
that's where coaching comes in. She may not feel adequate. She may not feel she's enough. She may not feel she's prepared enough to go to the workplace. She doesn't realize that within the home, she has acquired skills that can be transferred into work. Okay, so her own feeling, that's what I talked about, our inner barriers. The inner barriers of women that stand in the way of them moving to their next level. Okay, so I'm running through it quickly.
I'll take another comment.
Okay.
That's what self-search does, though. Before we go, you'll talk about self-search.
Yes.
So for all those who need help, women-centered approach to coaching, self-search does that, and a few others as well, but we'll put a contact on. This one is from, you didn't tell me your name, Billy Gush. This one says, good afternoon, please, how do you deal with the father of your child who is a bitter person because of his childhood experiences of how his parents handled him? This is definitely, it sounds like it's from a woman, but it says Billy Gush. Okay.
How do you deal with the father? Some of these things, we try to solve them ourselves when there are professionals who could help them.
So I think that this comment, they should reach out to self-search.
We'll
put the contact out. This one is, good afternoon, a question from my Joy Masterclass. Do the differences in our gender make up a firm... I'm not getting that quite clearly. Okay, so do the differences in our gender affirm gender rules? I don't know what that means. Then it goes on to say, does a problem with a name, a problem without a name, also affirm the need to maintain our gender rules while adapting to modernization, and how?
The problem without a name really is talking about the things women do not want, and yet it's difficult for them to name exactly what they want. Okay, that's really the problem without a name. Okay, they don't want to stay at home. They don't want just accomplishment, but what they do want is to self-actualize. Okay, they want to become the best version of themselves so that they feel fulfilled. Okay, that's the problem without a name. And I would have talked about traditional coaching and transformational coaching, because that is where the woman-centered coaching is. Now, when you look at...
I tell you what, next week, we get the opportunity to actually go into coaching proper.
Okay, yes.
Tell us, what are we doing next week?
Okay, so next week, we are going to look at what is coaching. And you find that a lot of organizations know executive coaching, performance coaching, business coaching. It's all performance-related. And transformational coach. So we're going to look at what is coaching, what are the differences between coaching and counseling and training and mentoring, and there are differences. And how do you even choose a coach? How do you know what qualities the coach should have? Or so we are going to be looking at all of that. So the traditional coaching will look at how it has evolved, and we'll look at all of that. So
what we can do is that we can add the transformational and traditional coaching to our startup.
Okay, for next week.
God
That's
willing.
Awesome.
But what's our takeout from today's conversation? And then you tell us about self-search.
Okay. So I'll take out
If you remember nothing from today, what should we remember?
If you remember nothing from today, remember that the best, sometimes we can be running after the wind. And it's most fulfilling when you know who you are, when you know why you are here, and you know how to align everything you have into giving out into society. So it's really not about it's about you and knowing you. That's one thing you should take out, because like I talked about, I traced how women have grown, and I traced how, in spite of all that we were yearning for, there is still a feeling of unhappiness and fulfillment. So it boils down to, who am I and what do I want? Where am I going and how do I get there?
Very, very profound question. Self-search. How do we get to you for anyone who needs to reach you after
Okay, I'll just give you a number.
Indeed.
Okay, which is 05015661117. And yes.
Say it again very slowly.
05015661117.
Joyce Sika Twum, CEO and founder of Self-Search Ghana Limited, talking to us about the woman-centered approach to coaching, training, and leadership. I must say, I've enjoyed this conversation thoroughly. I wish we had a bit more time, but thankfully we're able to push what we didn't talk about onto the next show. Next week, God willing, we come your way with another exciting edition of Masterclass. Thank you for joining us, and see you same time next week.
Thank you.